I think you touched on this before, but if a large number of students opt out, quote unquote, will AIS be significantly impacted? So if you have that many students.
It's academic interaction.
Wendy?
I'm sorry. Sort of touch on the data. I know there's a strong push to analyze the data. My biggest fear is that we're going to go down the ComStat route of the NYPD, and we're always going to be chasing the number. This is not interesting. And as Prisco made a good point before, our kids are identifying themselves as a number. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make them chase the number. So just like the precinct commanders chase the weekly crime number every week, I lived it, I know it, our principals are going to do that. And our teachers are going to do that. And that's what our kids are going to be left behind.
Well, I share your concern because I think it's very important that the information that you get from testing data is positioned appropriately as part of multiple measures. You would not, I think, agree that we should not find out whether our kids are reading on grade level. We need to have a sense of that, but it can't be the whole picture. It needs to be balanced with other kinds of information, and that's the way that we're trying to approach it. And I think, you know, we want to keep on working with schools and with parents to get that balance right. And so I really appreciate the feedback that you all are sharing about this. And I think it's worth continuing this conversation because we really do believe that both are important and you need to strike that balance.
25% of the teachers. If a child gets a loan, do you automatically remain into summer school? Or
No.
Portfolio review
No.
gets done? No, I know, that's why. These are questions that's been hitting my cell phone, my email, like I said, so.
So this was in the letter to parents that we sent out earlier this year on our FAQ, and it's basically we're going to be looking at the kids' tests. We're going to look at how many questions they got right and wrong, and we're going to ask the bottom 10% to go to summer school because that is consistent with the group of kids that we've had in summer school. We will not be asking kids who have a specific score to go to summer school. We'll be looking for the kids that are struggling the most. So I think you asked a question about a student that may need to play sports over the summer. A student who historically has not been anywhere close to the bottom 10% is not suddenly going to go into the bottom 10%. Like, that is not going to happen.
So regardless of a grade, a number one, there's going to be X amount of students who get a 1 who's going to be in the bottom 10%, and then there's going to be Y amount who still gets a 1, but they're not in the bottom 10%.
That's correct.
Okay.
Wendy, and then followed by Terry Carahanty and Jen Donahue, please.
Sure.
How are you, Wendy?
Hi, my name is Wendy Ramos. I am from Wishes of Literacy, which is a place to educate and support children with dyslexia and reading challenges. I know, right?
I don't know big guy,
So specifically, my questions regarding the tests and the comments, core standards, pertain to them. Many of our dyslexic children, and there's a lot of them, 1 in 8, 1 in 10, are already struggling. They're already 2, 3, 4, 5 grade levels behind in reading. And they're already forced to take this test. And now they're forced to take a test where the standards are even higher. So if they fail, what is the DOE going to do for them? What programs are they going to have in place in summer school for them to help them learn differently in order to pass this test? And ongoing, if a parent decides to opt out, or whatever the correct terminology is, and the portfolio is used for promotional purposes, these children's portfolios may not be at the level they need to be at to begin with for passing. So what happens to these kids?
So students with an IEP have a different set of criteria that are related to what's in their IEP. And so that's always been true around promotion and all of the decisions that are made with respect to promotion, and it's going to vary depending on the child. Some students will take the test and pass it. Some students will have testing modifications that will allow them to pass it. Other students will not pass it, but they will have met some of their IEP goals that are required for promotion, and then they will be promoted. And so, specific to each child IEP is a set of promotional criteria that are used. So, in terms of support, you know, I believe that each child also needs a customized program of support to move them to their next level. You can't skip 3 levels. You have to go from one level to the next level. I believe that many of our kids with disabilities actually will be able, over time, to master these standards, and there will be some that aren't able to do it. But our job with them is to really include them as much as possible in learning experiences that tap into their specific needs and design a program around those needs that help them move to the next step. And that's what the reforms we've been working on over the past couple of years around special ed are designed to do, to try and get much more detailed information and also equip schools to serve kids. And I think that we're likely to see that help a lot of kids in this exact situation. And parents' role in this is to know that IEP and be in communication both with the child and with the school about what they believe the kids' needs are and what their supports are if they're not seeing them getting that.
Well, I think the intent is excellent, and I agree with the intent 110%, but that intent is not being followed through in the school, much like a lot of the rules and regulations and ideas of the DOE. And that's the problem, because these kids are still struggling and will struggle with this test.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of a specific school, it's worth talking with their media a little bit about the specifics. I think that there will be some schools where kids are getting their supports and are really excelling, and there are other places where we have work to do to improve what the school is doing, and we need to know where it's not working as well, so we can provide additional training and support. And you know, you build capacity by getting in there, setting a goal that's challenging, that's actually going to give kids what they need, and then understanding where kids are, and then working with teachers so that they can strengthen their skills and get better at this. And I think we're all going to see that over time, even though this is hard work and it's not easy, that we're going to actually equip our kids better for their lives, and they're going to have many more options available to them as a result of this work.
Yeah, but what's happening is different. I'm not sure.
I want to move on to the next one. Shael is not going to be able to be here for much longer, and not everyone who's on the list is going to be able to speak. So let's go with Terry Carahanty, please. And if anyone does have follow-up questions, please send them to the CEC email address, and we will send them on to Shael and make sure that we get answers back. Hi, Terry. How are you?
I'm Terry Caramonte. I am a parent of a 4th grader and a 7th grader. My main concern is my 7th grader who struggles in ELA. What his placement is going to be going into high school? Will he be put in a modified class? Like, where will he be put? Will he be in a decent class?
So I think that high schools generally look at not just the results from the state exams, but also they do some diagnostics with kids as they come in to figure out what kinds of supports are needed. I would also note that all the 7th graders are in the same boat. Like, everyone is taking on this challenging assignment this year, and so when high schools look at how kids did, they're going to be looking at that spectrum. And so, you know, it may be that your son might need additional support in literacy when he goes into high school, and that would be good to know that and to give it to him. But we're never going to make those decisions solely based on one sitting. We're always going to take that as one piece of information and then put it together with everything we need to know. And if it's not working, if you're seeing that they're not diagnosing his needs correctly, then that's something you can ask for. We need to take another look. I think he needs more support, or he needs to be in a more challenging environment.
Okay, Christine, is that Christine Causey? Am I saying that properly? Followed by Bethany Carroll and Marissa Nobile. Joe, I'll let speak to you up to the microphone. One of the other questions is, on Staten Island, we have a middle school scholars program. The only entry into that program is a double 4 on the 4th grade band in ELS.
Okay, so that's similar to the screen schools that we're talking about, where if there are not enough students who score at the high level, then they're going to look down the list at kids who are at the next level. And that's how they'll get in. So the goal here is not to disadvantage anyone because the state has decided to take a more challenging exam for our students. And so we're going to need to look at how kids do. And if I'm running a program like that, or if I'm running a screen school, all of the students coming in are going to have a different score this year than what I'm used to. And so I'm going to adjust accordingly.
And if they don't take the test, are they still eligible?
Well, it depends on the program. So if the program has a mechanism to look at a bunch of different factors, then they would be, I don't know the specifics of this.
Why wouldn't they have the mechanism to look at their portfolio?
Well, as Shael just said, he doesn't know, we're going to have to look into that more in depth. I know when the program was created for double 4s just for the ease of implementation. Joe Klein was chancellor then, and it was just a negotiation of this is how we can begin this program without an additional cost to the DOE. So if the child doesn't take the test, then I have to imagine that they're going to go through a portfolio review, which should be reviewed by the middle school principal the same way.
I couldn't find out, I just don't know enough about it.
We'll find out, we'll post it.
Yes. Superintendent said yes, that's how it would work.
So that was a yes.
Yeah, but they'll look at the portfolio.
No, that wasn't a yes, because well, you know, and we will look into this. It's not lip service, I want you to know that. But this program, well before the superintendent came into existence, it was double 4s, and it's a very competitive program. I think this is one of the things that Mr. Suransky was saying, that one of the options of opting out is that first they will look at the children that do score, show level 4. But in this particular program, it has to be reviewed. The director has come to the table several times, and we're in the process of talking about it. So, you know, I will take your name, I'll speak with you, tell me what school you're in, and we'll keep in contact, okay?
Okay, let's go to the next question, please. Thank you for being patient.
I'm here, I'm an educator, and I'm also here, Bethany Carroll. I'm an educator and a parent, so I have the stress on both sides, in my classroom and also at home. I have a 5th grader and a 1st grader. My 5th grader is stressed to the gills. He has an IEP. He has all sorts of test modifications. You had stated something earlier in regards to a classroom you walked into where there was different groups of children working together on different levels of articles. I'm assuming they're different reading levels of articles. Okay, that's very nice. Differentiated instruction for those who aren't familiar with the term. So the children are learning so that everybody's able to read those articles. Well, when my son takes the test, he's sitting there under the 3rd grade reading level, and the test is not differentiated. So my question is, why is this going on in the classroom, the differentiation of instruction? However, when he's sitting to take his test, they're not differentiating for him and his learning disability.
So, good question. One of the New York State has not decided to do that, is the basic answer. There are some proposals out there for states to do what is called an adaptive test, where it basically finds the kid's level and then gives them questions at that level, and then, you know, challenges them
You have to
see.
be mentally retarded to qualify.
Excuse me, that's not accurate. What I'm saying is there are proposals nationally to shift state-level testing to an adaptive test. It doesn't exist now, but there are proposals for that could come in the future. And I think it's an interesting idea to address the concerns. But I think you know the answer to your question in terms of why we are doing that in the classroom, because that's good instructional practice in order to create access points for kids.
Yes, it's just a concern when he does not read on a 5th grade level and yet he's sitting the test and struggling and he can't read the material. It's stressful for him, even with extended time, a separate location, with the scribe, all modifications, he still struggles and it's very discouraging to him. Very discouraging.
And I think that I'm going to be very honest about what's in my control and what's not. I don't get to decide who has to take the test or what's on it. What I get to decide is how do we help people prepare and get the skills they need so that they get a good education? How do we situate this information that we get from the test in order to improve that education? And those are the things that I'm working really hard at. And I want to help parents figure out how to make good decisions and support their kids. But, there are things that we don't control.
All right, we're only going to have time for one more question. Marissa Neville.
Hi, I'm a parent from PS36. I have a 4th grader that has a 504 with food allergies. And today I was denied my IEP for additional test time. We're in the process of having her tested for oral processing delay. And the teacher tried something different with my daughter, put her in a separate setting. She actually completed the test the first time. The last test that she did, she didn't even finish half of it. How can I get my daughter additional testing time and be in an air conditioned setting because she also has pollen allergies on top of it?
Okay, well, speak with the superintendent after. We'll get your name and we'll connect you with the special ed folks to take a look at that.
Well, she's not in special ed. She's a 3-4 child.
Yeah, but I think that they can help us figure out, where the options are.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Shael for coming this evening. We're going to take about a 10-minute break before